Let's see what Yahweh has to say about the outward appearance, or this tent that we have, which is our bodies. Let's look at John chapter 7 and verse 24. It says, "Do not judge according to appearance, but judge with righteous judgment." It's a common message in the Bible that the outward appearance and the outward things in our clothing, our food, our houses, our cars, these aren't the important things. And we believers know that this is the truth, that the important thing is what's going on inside of us. And that is the work of Yahweh that is going on inside of us. Let's take a look at James, or really I should say Jacob. You know that the book of James was mistranslated James. Coincidentally, the person who was financing that translation was King James, but really the name of that book should be Yaakov, or Jacob in English, and that was Yeshua, the Master's, our Messiah, that was his brother. So let's take a look in James chapter 2, verses 2 through 4. "For if there should come into your assembly a man with gold rings in fine apparel, and there should also come in a poor man in filthy clothes, and you pay attention to the one wearing the fine clothes, and say to him, 'You sit here in a good place,' and say to the poor man, 'You stand there,' or 'Sit here at my footstool,' have you not shown partiality among yourselves and become judges with evil thoughts?" Do we treat people badly like this because of the way they look? Have you ever done that? Maybe you didn't actually do it, but you felt it. If you looked at a person, they weren't exactly dressed very nicely, or they maybe even had a certain odor about them. How would we treat them? How would Yahweh and Yeshua treat them? That's what we should be asking. How important is outward appearance? It is important to be clean and look good, but some people can't help it, depending on what their situation is. And some people might just have poor clothing. If you travel around the world, you might meet people like that. Or would you be impressed by a person who is wearing a three-piece suit and a tie, or a really nice outfit with rings on their finger and jewelry and nice clothing, or a very nice car? Or a person who has an old beat-up car? There's so much that the Feast of Tabernacles has to teach us. The Feast of Tents, the Feast of Sukkot. Those tents in which we stay each night, in which we sleep. We are residing inside that tent. And if these bodies are our tent, what is residing, what is living inside this tent of mine? Is Yahweh living in this tent, or is it empty? Is it an empty shell? Or is my Creator, is Yahweh and His Son Yeshua and the Holy Spirit, are they dwelling in me? Are they transforming me, changing the old me into a new creation, into someone who resembles Yahweh and Yeshua? That's the goal. Is the Shekinah, is the Holy Spirit, is the mind of Yahweh and Yeshua living in me, changing me? Or am I just an old tent? At the end of the Feast of Tabernacles, every year, you fold up your tent. And after many years, it's going to start getting worn and have holes in it, and you might have to replace it. But when you're laying there at night during the Feast of Tabernacles, looking up at the top of your tent, and maybe you can even see the stars if you have one of those skylights in it, or a mesh material, and it's not, it's nice enough weather that you don't have the rain fly on, and you can see out of your tent. Does it make you think about what Yahweh is, the work that He's doing in you inside your tent? There is so much that we have to look at. Another thing that we can think about is, have you ever received a gift? I'm sure all of you have. You receive a gift and it has a nice bow on it, or a nice wrapping paper. Sometimes you look at the outside of that gift and you say, wow, that looks nice. Or if it's a real big gift, you wonder what's inside of there. or no matter whatever the size of the gift is, you wonder what's inside the gift. You're a little bit impressed by the way it looks, but the real concern is what's on the inside. And kids will show that more than adults because they just dig in and they rip the wrapping paper right off when they get a gift because they want to know what's inside of it. Is the gift, if the gift, or if you opened the gift and it were empty, it would be quite a disappointment or a surprise. So it's also another outer shell gift, just like the tent is the outer shell. And these bodies are our outer shell. They're a temporary dwelling. They're not our permanent dwelling. We're going to shed these bodies. We're going to be given a spiritual body. The important thing is what's on the inside. And how am I working on that? Am I being transformed by Yahweh's word, by His Holy Spirit living in me, changing me? Am I looking in at myself and seeing how I'm changing, getting closer to Him each year? Am I getting better or am I getting worse? Is my tent empty? Or is it filled with rotten, dirty, bad things? Or is something good growing inside of it? I hope that Yahweh is living inside of my tent. That's the question we should be asking. Is Yahweh, is our Father and His Son Yeshua and the Holy Spirit, are they in our tent? Are they growing and developing? This is what we can be asking during the Feast of Tabernacles. Besides just talking about that the Feast of Tabernacles represents the millennium. It could represent the millennium too. But after all, it is the Feast of Sukkot, the Feast of Tents. And we're told that these bodies are our tents that we're going to change. And the Father is going to give us a spiritual body.